Alrighty, people, we are back with Creepypasta Storytime. This is episode 3, and it's going to be more or less a continuation of events of the Jeff the Killer story. It details about his brother Lou that he thought to have killed right after. This is right when Jeff lost his sanity and he started becoming Jeff the Killer. But his real name was Jeffrey Woods. But ever since that fight he got into with Randy and those other kids, it left him completely broken mentally. But the story you're about to read is called Homicidal Lou. It's based on his brother, obviously. So now I'm using a different source this time because I cannot find Lou's story on the original Creepypasta website. So we're on this blogspot page called Creepypasta Stories. And this was posted Thursday, February 12th in 2015. And it basically tells the entire event of what happened immediately after Jeff killed his parents and thought to have killed his brother. It all started one night. The murderer Jeffrey Woods murders his parents and his beloved brother, Lou Woods. Jeff stopped being the boy who was kind and became a soulless monster that had a pure desire to kill. But seriously, how did his brother Lou survive after receiving multiple cuts and stab wounds all over his abdomen? Lou survived the attack by his brother, barely. His heart felt like bursting from the effort, but Lou continued with the strength from his desperation to live and go to Jeff. Then when everything went black and he fainted. It took a long time for Lou to wake up. He was in a fairly lit room full of tubes and medicine. He could not speak, eat. Lou was fed through a tube, breathing through an artificial lung. He could barely make out who he was, just listening to a nurse talking to a doctor. She said this patient may not survive. He needs many transplants. His left lung collapsed, his heart is very delicate, and kidneys are failing. It is almost impossible for him to survive. Those words were the proof that Lou had survived what had happened. Then came the day when the transplants would be needed. Lou could not talk yet and was quite sedated. He could not express his joy at the time, so he saved it for when he recovered. The nurse that came in said, "Hi, I'm Susan. I wish you the best of luck. You're very strong. Barely survived this attempted murder. I personally wanted to take care of you because I admire your strength. I wish you well when you leave the hospital." She kissed his cheek and blushed. Lou could not deny she was a very beautiful girl, but he did not know if he would survive this. It was time. The time when fate would decide whether Lou would live or die. The doctor told him that a young, strong boy who survived this long was most likely to survive. They put the mask on and Lou slept. But what would he feel what they did to him? At that moment, Jeff then felt a cold blade pierce him in the side of the heart. The first cut was the most painful. Then something opened his skin. The pain was more intense with each passing second. Each cut was more painful than before, but most painful was when they started cutting his heart and getting it out of his body. That moment was just the beginning of Lou's torture. Hours of excruciating pain. Every cut, every part of Lou that had replaced, each suture, all the pain through his body destroyed what little sanity he had left until it shattered. Lou spent days in that bed unable to move, unable to speak, just listening to the voice of the nurse, Susan. She was with him day and night, talking to him, telling him to resist. She wanted Lou alive. Lou wanted to know the truth, and he hoped he could talk to Susan, and she could hear his voice. A week passed, and she came more often, came and sang and read. But one day, Lou could move his body, and Susan said, "I want you to wake up." She kissed him after finishing that sentence, and Lou started to feel his body and managed to open his eyes and saw her, crying with joy to see that he was awake. He said then, "Hi, Susan, I'm Lou Woods." She was astonished and said, "Really? You're the brother of Jeff Woods?" "He was here a while. He was very ill. I found out he went crazy and killed his family. How is it that you survived, Lou? I also found out that 3 days ago he kidnapped a girl and burned her alive with bleach and gasoline. Then escaped from there and had not been seen." Now, a little fun fact, what that is, it was actually also setting up another story, which I'll cover in the next episode. The girl that Jeff burned alive is actually Jane the Killer, who is the one person who grows to hate Jeff and wants to kill him. Yes, there have been multiple fan fictions all over the internet that they fall in love, but in actual creepypasta lore, Jane hates Jeff with a passion and wants to kill him. Now back to the story. But in the house, or what remains of it, we have not found more than 2 bodies. They say that she survived but did not know what happened to the bodies. Excuse me. In the room where his brother slept, or where you were sleeping, they found written in blood on the wall, "Go to sleep," and the word "smile" on the bathroom mirror. I very much regret the death of your parents, seriously, and cannot imagine that you would ever want to return to that place. You want to sleep over in my house for a while? Well, when you get out of recovery. I live alone since my parents died in a car accident, so I have a spare room. Lou accepted the offer from Susan and said, "When I leave here, I want to take you to dinner. Wherever you want, alone. I need one day to accompany me to my old home to get my clothes, but I do not think they are still there." She accepted, slightly fearful. The following day she visited Lou. They laughed together. Lou and Susan were very close, almost like they were dating. So after a while, Lou asked her to be his girlfriend. She said, "Lou, I've always wanted to be your girlfriend. I was going to ask, but I did not know how." Lou approached her and kissed her. He was so happy. Things were getting better for him. He finally had a person who would be his new family. Lou left the hospital. It was his first day out. Susan welcomed him with open arms. She told him where his clothes were in Lou's new home. Susan then said, "Yes, but you have to bring something to protect us in case your brother is still hanging around." Lou replied, "Okay, a couple of butcher knives, a syringe, a little soothing, and also a little emergency kit in case we need surgery, you or me. Mask can cause a wound that will need stitches, a gallon of water, and 2 glasses for if we get thirsty." They went to Lou's old house and picked everything he needed, plus a bag to carry his stuff. Back in Lou's old home, Susan gripped his arm. Lou said, "Do not be afraid, everything will be fine." He kissed her to calm her down. He opened the door a little. They then walked in and saw that the walls of Lou's house were full of blood. The blood of his parents. They found in the kitchen a gallon of gasoline, an empty bleach bottle, and some matches. Still touring the house, they looked into the bathroom and saw the mirror with the word "smile" written in blood. The sink and floor were also covered in blood. His whole house was just full of blood. They walked to the next door. That was the 4th, and was his parents'. They found the sheets stained with blood. They then entered the most disturbing place of his house, Lou's room. The phrase "go to sleep" was written in blood on the wall. As Susan said, Lou looked in his closet, got his belongings, his laptop, his MP3, his phone, and his clothes. But only what was not full of blood. Lou remembered the disturbing sight of Jeff, seeing his eyes full of madness, and holding a bloody knife in his hand, saying, "Shh, just go to sleep." That memory was what caused what little sanity Lou had left to disappear. He told Susan to give him the backpack where they had his things. He then went to the bathroom, took the knife, and said, "Jeff, I'll see you in hell." After the sentence, Lou spoke to Susan and kissed her and said, "Goodbye, my love, but I want to find Jeff and get back at what he made me, and get revenge for killing my parents and almost killing me. I love you, Susan. I'm sorry for this." Then he would stab her, but no, he did not. He would not become Jeff. He said, "Okay, Lou, I love you. And I know that being so close to death can affect people. Let's go home." They kissed, ordered a taxi, and went home. After they got home, Lou went to bathe. While Lou bathed, he remembered every moment spent with his family, Mom, Dad, his childhood with Jeff, the pranks they did, everything they had done together, the joy of having his family around. He then began to mourn. But the sound of falling water drowned his sobs, so it did not matter. The first night was somewhat traumatic for Lou. In his nightmares, he could see Jeff as it was before the accident, before being brutally murdered by the new Jeff. Then he turned to look at Lou and said, "Lou, why did you not go to sleep like I asked you?" Lou then woke up with a terrible fright. Susan ran to his room and said, "What happened, Lou? Are you okay?" Lou replied, "Yes, it was just a nightmare. Do not worry." The next day, upon awakening, Lou smelt a scent that he has long not enjoyed. It was the smell of hot cakes freshly made. He went to the dining room, and there was Susan preparing breakfast as Mom did. She said good morning to Lou. They sat down and started eating. How long it had been since he had not eaten hot cakes made with love. He didn't know, but the taste, it was so nice. He felt loved again. But happiness does not last long. Lou was going crazy. Every passing day, Susan reminded him more of his mom. So he took a kitchen knife and ran to her room. She was ready to go out with him on a date. She looked so beautiful. He was not able to kill her, not with knowing how much he loved her, not with feeling love for the last time in his life. He loved her, but he was getting crazier every day. Every time it cost him more to restrain from sticking a knife in her heart. He did not want to kill her, but had no choice, or so he thought. Already leaving the theater, they walked home. He said, I love you, Susan, but there's something inside me it's killing me and that I do not know if I can take it anymore. I want you to know that I love you. After the phrase, a man came out of a bag Susan had but not without wounding her. Lou was angry. He wanted to kill him for hurting Susan. He chased him with the knife he had been saved in his jacket pocket. He dragged him into the alley where he stole the bag from his beloved Susan. Lou made the man kneel in front of her and made him apologize. Lou wanted to take his life, but before he turned to Susan, she said, Run. I do not want you to see this. I love you, Susan, and you do not want to see this. Susan ran as far as he could. When he knew he was okay and Susan was gone, he told this guy, I cannot forgive you for hurting Susan. She is good, so pure. Hurting someone like her is a very serious crime, so then I'll take your life, and only then you will pay for hurting her. Lou raised his knife and started stabbing the man repeatedly. He could only see suffering in the eyes of the man, but still kept stabbing him until he died of multiple stab wounds. Lou wiped the blood on his leather jacket, which was a bit stained. Luckily, it only had some spots, so it was easy to hide the fact that he had cornered the thief. He left the alley and met Susan in the corner cafe sipping espresso. Susan was fine. The manager had bandaged her wound. Lou thanked him. Lou carried Susan home carefully. He took her to the room and laid her down on the bed. She said, Susan, I did not want this to happen to you, so from now on, I will not let anyone hurt you. Starting today, never be afraid. Nobody will hurt. I swear. Lou kissed her and went to take a shower. He realized he could not kill her. She was all he had in this world. She was the only person he loved, but he enjoyed killing that guy. But he could not kill anyone while he was with Susan. Lou decided to just kill people that hurt the innocent and people who did evil to people that he minded. And above all, he would kill anyone who tried to hurt Susan. Days passed, more and more people were killed, but it was annoying having pants full of blood. So he bought leather pants, then killing was less annoying. He got jackets and shoes, both leather, which he could easily clean with soap and water. Killing became an increasingly boring habit again. Killing with simple stabbing was very repetitive. So Lou was using modes more twisted each time. Some he burned alive with gasoline, others operated without anesthesia, others were forced to eat his own guts. God damn! Others cut into pieces and threw them to stray dogs, but never killed any innocent criminals or thugs, killed only down. That made him a hero, right? He was making criminals suffer in the most horrible ways. Every day he used most terrible forms and twisted ways to kill. He came home, cleaned his clothes from the blood of criminals, and spent quality time with Susan. Until one day they were going to have dinner. Lou had a job as a cook in a restaurant, earning well, but instead he took her to a beautiful place, in the light of the candles. Lou said, excuse me. We've been together for almost a year, and you're the love of my life. I do not know how I could live with it. I want to propose something. Lou knelt down and removed the ring from his bag. He said, will you marry me? Susan moved with tears in her eyes and said, yes, Lou, I will marry you. They left the restaurant. Lou had not been so happy in his life, but a man appeared with a gun and shot Susan. Lou was full of anger and hatred, but he could not leave Susan alone there, bleeding, dying. He ran and get to the nearest hospital. The doctors told Lou this is a very delicate procedure. Susan may not wake up. We expect the worst. Lou went to get the man who shot Susan. He'll never forget the man's face. Lou Lou spent hours walking the streets until he found him. He beat him nearly senseless and said, "You will give me your life, bastard. Because of you, my Susan is at the brink of death, and you will pay with your life." He died when Lou finished the sentence. Lou arrived at the hospital. The doctor said that Susan had awakened and to go talk to her. And he did. Now in Susan's room, she saw him and said, "Lou, is that you? I'm glad you came. I hope to resist as you had resisted what happened to you. I love you, Lou. I do not want to die, but if I do, I don't want you to kill yourself. I love you too much to die for me. I know what you did. I know you kill criminals, but although not a very noble mission you have, do not stop doing what you do, Lou." He spent an hour in which they talked, in which he said all he had to say. He did not want to lose it. He did not want to lose the only person left for him in this world. The doctor came in and said, "We need to operate, but Mrs. Woods will recover." She was taken to the operating room, where it lasted for 3 hours that seemed eternal. Lou wanted to gouge his eyes out of despair, but hope that Susan survived was why Lou was only standing. After the operation, the doctor who took care of everything said the operation was a success. She is stable. In the morning she will wake, and after 2 weeks she may leave the hospital. Those words touched Lou so much. He felt so calm knowing that Susan would be fine. Lou was in his room all day waiting for Susan to wake. She then woke up and said, "Who are you and where are my parents?" Those words filled Lou with sadness. But he had to do something to remind her when she recovered. He took her to the hospital where they met. He said, "Is that you, Lou? You've changed." She began to remember. He took her to his old house, and she remembered that they were there. He kept taking Susan to all the significant places that they were at during the week, until they got to the restaurant that Lou had proposed at. She remembered everything, hugged him, and said, "Lou, I now remember everything. Thanks for being with me until I regained my memory." Then Lou said, "You did the same for me. I owe you that much, Susan." He kissed her, but when they parted, Susan began to convulse. It scared him a lot, and he took her to the hospital. Lou would not leave her alone when she needed him. He stayed there waiting for the news, and the doctor said, "I'm sorry, sir, but your girlfriend is dead." The phrase filled Lou with sadness and hatred. He took the doctor by the neck and threw him across the room. There was no reason to hold back. He killed everyone in the hospital, men, women, children, and sick. He killed them all. He could not bear them to live, that his Susan not to. She could not die, and he would not let that happen. But it was inevitable. Lou's clothes were full of blood of the innocents. His hands were drenched in blood, and his eyes had changed. So he decided to do something. He went for a knife and started cutting a heart into his chest, the initials of Susan and her time of death, their anniversary, and the date when they met. Then Lou went for a needle and thread, and he sewed the edges of his lips into a smile for everyone to see and suffer inside. When he finished, Lou went home, grabbed his leather clothes and things that he used to kill, and left, never to return. Now Lou lives by killing all those who are happy. But when people die, they will not see it, but killing consoles Lou. If you see him, run and do not show your happiness, for if you do, you will die in a very ruthless and twisted way. So twisted you won't be able to tell your body from what it was like before meeting him. Homicidal Lou, survivor of Jeff the Killer. Okay, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that Lou is crazier than his own fucking brother. Yes, Jeff might have burned someone alive, but then Lou actually has a reason for losing his sanity. Jeff almost killed him. And then Lou thought that he could settle down and be happy for the rest of his life. But then his girlfriend died, and then it just caused all the sanity that he had left to just go away, and he just started killing everybody. But he was just a vigilante. He killed only criminals that absolutely deserved it. But then, after Susan died, he started killing all those who were happy because he didn't want anyone to be happy and be alive because the only love of his life was gone. So actually, I gotta feel bad for Lou because he thought that he could have love again, but then fate decided to twist its cruel hand, and fate decided to take away the one thing that Lou cherished the most. So that was basically part 2 of what I'm going to start calling the Jeff the Killer saga, which detail, I'm only calling it that because Jeff's the one who started it all. So the next episode is going to be revolving around Jane the Killer, who, again, was a girl murdered by Jeff due to arson and being set on fire, which is the same thing as arson, but... So, next episode, the Jeff the Killer saga ends with Jane the Killer. I might look up Jeff's reboot story to see like how different it is from the original, but I want to do this first because I want to like show all of the original events. So, again, thank you guys for watching Creepypasta Storytime Episode 3, Homicidal Lou. Really crazy story. Like, it's just outright gory and everything, but thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the very next video.